Nation Golf is a lot of things, but at our core, we are a family company. And that's not some clever branding or marketing to make ourselves more appealing to boost sales. It's an absolute truth that we are extremely proud of. If you know anything about this company, you know that our logo, our crest, our insignia is a caricature drawing of Thomas Lycan, the late grandfather of our founder and CEO, Ryan Engle. The Smoking Tom and everything he represents, everything he's taught Ryan, has been the guiding light for this company. It's a grandson's heartfelt passion to eternalize his grandfather's lasting legacy. But it goes beyond that. Ryan's wife, Katie Kai, does more for Nation than anyone knows. She's instrumental to our success. Ryan's brother, Shaun Engle, is the assistant tournament chairman for our annual event in the desert. My dad, Jonathan, who I named my son after, runs the books for our company, and he's a partial owner too. My wife, Hasmeen, has helped us at the most recent Nation Derby, and she's even modeled a few of our sweatshirts. Our photographer and content producer, Nick Smith, is the brother of Katie Kai's business partner, Alex. So we mean it when we say it. Nation Golf is a family company, through and through. And this past Sunday, January 30th, the Nation family lost an instrumental and beloved member. Richard Allen Engle, son of the Smoking Tom and the father of our founder, Ryan Engle, passed away at the age of 64 in his sleep at his home in Dana Point. Richard was affectionately known by his friends as Big Rich. He was a giant of a man on the outside and a teddy bear on the inside. I came to Nation Golf in late 2019, and I only met Big Rich twice, but I'm forever grateful that I got to spend some time with him over fish tacos and beer. And I'm glad that I got to see a father and son cracking each other up for an hour straight. And I'll never forget Big Rich busting Ryan's balls throughout the entire meal because Ryan charged him for a Nation shirt. And then after all the grief he gave Ryan for charging him for a shirt, Big Rich picked up the tab for lunch. Because that's what dads do. But this isn't my story to tell. This is Ryan and Shaun's, and they're going to do that right now. This episode of The Fellowship is a loving tribute to their dad, Richard, father to the Engle boys and son of the Smoking Tom. There's no them, and there's no us without him. Rest in peace, Big Rich. Welcome into episode 15 of The Fellowship. Ryan Engle and Shaun Engle are with me today, and quite frankly, I am honored just to be a part of this, and I think there's no other appropriate way to start than my heart goes out to both of you guys. I love you guys. My condolences, and on behalf of everyone watching and listening, we are so sorry for your loss. And right now, how are you guys doing?
We're actually doing pretty good. Things have gone well through the beginning stages of, a tragic family event like that, but I think speaking for both my brother and my mom and I don't think it could have gone smoother or better, and I think we're all at peace with how it went down, and we're proud of my dad, and he went out peacefully again. Mm-hmm. I think it was unfortunate. It's always untimely, but you know what? Life goes on. And he would have wanted us to keep going, and we're going to keep going. So
absolutely. And Shaun, how are you doing?
Doing good. Family staying strong. One thing about special people, just like him as well, is legends live on. And that man was a legend. And it was a tough, especially a tough, the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Was getting ugly, but the guy always smiled and always had a good attitude.
Never complained.
And that's one thing I'm going to take away tremendously is on your shittiest days and shitty moments, that guy's, he's been through a lot, and he had some shitty years and decades. And your little shitty moment, you can turn that thing around and smile about it. So
a lot to hang our hat on.
Yep.
And before we continue the conversation about Big Rich, let's do a cheers for him.
Yeah. Big Rich's favorite beer, Miller High Life.
Cheers.
The champagne.
Cheers, boys.
Champagne of beers.
This was your dad's favorite beer?
Yeah. What's funny is he always liked the cheap shit.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to beer.
The old timers always
and
the cheap shit.
It was like cheap coffee, cheap beer.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. When I was a kid in the early 80s, before Shaun was born, I remember the Lucky's was the supermarket down the street from our house in Costa Mesa, and they had a house brand beer, unbranded, and my dad swore by this shit, and it was light brown, like similar to a tan can, like a Coors Heavy.
Yeah.
It was a light brown can with dark brown letters, no outline, no nothing in it, just said beer. The cheapest shit. And he was like, you know what? I remember Grandpa Engle was over, and he said, "You gonna try this beer?" You know, and he's doing my dad. You know how you do it. He'd be like,
And he watch you, and he lips would shiver and watch you sip it.
"Pretty good,
Pretty good.
$3.99 for a 6-pack or whatever the fuck it was." You know, and so he just loved the cheap shit, and he had High Life. It was either Miller Lite or High Life in the house for as long as I can remember. But you know, in recent years, he switched to Mick Ultra. Just because all these old timers, they just get caught up in the PGA Tour fucking advertisements.
Yeah.
And he was convinced that was what he was going to drink now. And we would give him shit for it. And so we're like, no, dude, you're a High Life guy. Don't fuck this up, Dad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, for the viewers at home, and Shaun can attest, I know that's where we get a lot of our, what would you call it, humor or
Goofiness, yeah.
brashness. You're the words guy, Hawk, where we've just liked to poke fun of everyone.
Sure.
We never had a serious conversation with my dad in our lives.
Yeah.
And our relationship, both him and I and my dad, was constant belittling. And I thank him for that because I'm really good at it now.
Yeah. Hey, you are. So credit to Big
We're
Rich
just all
for
a
that.
bunch
Yeah.
of best friends.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Last night, you guys had a very small, intimate family, immediate family only gathering. How was that?
It was awesome. My wife is just like, you know, she when tough times come, she has a hard time expressing her like love or place in it all, and so she just resorts to what she's good at, and it's like crafting or getting shit done or whatever. So she just organized the flowers and the pictures and stuff, and she did a great job. And you know, Shaun has 3 kids, and I have, you know, an 11-month-old daughter, and watching his kids play with my kids and just having this connection and seeing how at peace my mom was, we really just put a fucking bow on the whole thing. And, you know, my dad didn't want a big service or a bunch of hoopla. My parents, you know, as they got older, they got a little more private in their lives, you know, they just like to do their own thing. And which, you know, fuck, you get to an age, you earn that right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we had a really nice dinner and shared some stories. And, man, it's been cool just in my brother having him in town and sharing stories. Him and my mom, the day after my dad passed, we went to Turk's, just us 3. We sat down at a 4-top, and I ordered a Mick Ultra and put it on the table, like, you know, so he was with us, and we were sharing stories. What's great about those stories is, you know, once you bring one up and you start talking, then you remember this other one and this other one.
Full snowball.
And, you know, it sucks in our busy lives that fucking you take everything for granted. But, you know, these punches in the gut are such an important process of us living as humans, because it makes you remember those important things and bring up those stories. And by God, do we have some funny fucking stories with Dad, you know?
And we're going to get to those, but there's a natural curiosity that comes out of a really good place of caring and compassion where people will want to know how it ended, not in a morbid way, but just because they want to know if it was expected or if it was sudden. But there's no real way to process his ending without knowing how it all started. And that was 1989. You guys were playing catch in the yard, and you can pick it up from there. Yeah,
Grandpa Engle was in town. Shaun was in daycare. He was 2. And I was in, you know, the league after T-ball where you pitch it 3 times, and if you fuck up, then you get to tee it up.
Yeah.
It was like that age, you know? And so
everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah, so it was a game. What's cool about this, and I have the fucking picture, we'll throw it in there, Nick, but the team that I got picked to, or that, you know, you get put on these teams, it's like, this year you're the Cubs, you know? And I was like, fuck that, it's Dodgers, you know? So I'm the one kid on this fucking Cubs baseball team with the blue LA hat, you know? I was like, no one was gonna tell me that I'm wearing a fucking Chicago Cubs hat.
Think of those temper tantrums.
You know what I mean? And my parents were like, "Oh shit, okay, where are the fucking Dodgers at?" You know?
Yeah.
And so we're out back, and I'm supposed to pitch that night, and my grandpa, Grandpa Engle, my dad's real dad, he played some pro ball, AAA ball, and he actually he played for the Long Beach City team that played against the Cubs during spring training on Catalina. So Wrigley he built that ball field out there, and that's where the Cubs did their spring training back in the 60s, and my grandpa was the team that played them. So he was a third baseman, loved baseball, so he would come down for the games, and so he came down from Bakersfield for that game because I was going to pitch that night. So my dad, a former D1 athlete, 6'4", fucking just chiseled, massive human being, banana rack fucking hands, you know. We're throwing the hard ball back and forth. I'm getting ready, and he throws it kind of funky at me, and he's like, I'll never forget it. He's like, "Give that back to me." Like, the fuck was that? Like, something's wrong, you know, like probably thought he had a Charlie horse or something, and I threw it back at him, and he winded up to throw it back to me and just, you know, fell to the ground. His right side went out. We dragged him inside, called 911, and you know, fast forward, what had happened is he had a brain tumor that had been growing on the left side of his brain since he was probably a child, but how the fuck would you know, you know? And it finally got so big that it stroked him out, and he lost his right side, and we
It was the size of a grapefruit.
yeah, we got to the hospital, and the doctor, you know, they CAT scanned him right away. The doctor came out and said, "I'll let you guys shave his head," basically inferring like this is your opportunity to say your goodbyes, you know. And I'll never forget it. We shaved his head that night. You were just a kid.
Yeah.
And they had like the little purple marks on his thing where they're gonna operate, and they fucking cut in and scraped out as much as they could. And he wasn't supposed to live a fucking...
No.
If he survived it, he wasn't... Like, they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was... The medicine at that time for that, you know, severe of an operation was just, like, unknown. You know what I mean? It's
32 years ago.
cowboy shit, you know?
Yeah.
And he fucking woke up pulling fucking wires out, like, where am I, you know? Right away, you know? And so... Which was a good sign. And then they did some radiation for a couple years, and he's been on some pretty heavy medication to control a lot of that stuff. And you know, losing your right side, it put the brakes on my dad that, you know, pretty massively, you know. But he fucking survived, and every year was a gift. And you know, looking back, I think that's why he was so happy-go-lucky
100%.
and so okay with everything, because he knew how fucking lucky he was.
Yeah.
You know, and man, we were lucky. Just like anything, like I said, you take things for granted when it's in front of you. But looking back, man, we were lucky that he was such a good dad and loving, caring guy, and fun-loving too. You know, I mean, our household was, with him around, was laughter all the time.
Yeah.
That's
Really
great.
was, you know.
So, Shaun, he outlives this initial, somewhat terminal diagnosis for 3 decades plus.
Yeah.
What does that say about the type of guy that your dad was?
Man, I mean, breaking down his life, I mean, he's lived in, I would say, 3 different chapters, right? The first chapter, and Ryan touched base on this on the dinner last night. First chapter, I mean, he was a dog, you know.
He's a wild son
dog
of a bitch.
with his boys, and we get a lot of that, you know,
From him,
as well. A lot of those marbles in the box.
for better or worse.
Yeah. But you know, he always found a way to win, right? I mean, for instance, he definitely married up. So the guy was just a winner, and he was a professional bamboozle.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it,
Bamboozler, yeah.
Bamboozler.
Yeah.
But the second chapter of his life, obviously I was very, very young, so I always remember the third chapter, which is kind of the sadder side. But the meat and potatoes is that, I would say, looking back at it, and I wish I was older, but that second part, I could only imagine the first 10 years from after the accident, because especially in today's world, they probably wouldn't be together, just with the divorces and all that. But my mom, and she is a beast, man. To stay with him, number one, from the first chapter, and then number two, just to take care of him. She had to sign up that she was going to take care of him for the rest of time. And he
wouldn't have lived a week without
no, and I think he fully bought into the family side of it, because now he had to stay at home. I mean, he had his business and his carpet cleaning business and such, but he was home. Mom was the breadwinner. She was making money. She had to work and support all of us.
But man, what a blessing that was, because with you in sports and you with surfing,
there's no way we could have done it.
He was like, my mom would get mad. Remember, she'd be like, well, how come no one else's parents pick him up and stuff? And Dad's like, I got this. Yeah. Like, he loved it, and
he was always on time.
He was there. And what was great about that, in the outpouring of our friends messaging us after all this, you realize how many people he touched without being a guy who would talk serious to someone, have a heart to heart, really his relationships with all of our friends were like by actions, not words, and
he's strong bonds.
I don't think he knew at the time the impact he was having. He was just doing what he could do best to cope with his situation.
He created the gift on it.
It's really it's a special thing. But chapter 3
is just very belittling as a man.
Yeah.
You could tell it's just, I mean, holy crap. It's just your body's shot, your brain's starting to shoot a little bit, but the guy never quit, man.
Yeah.
He would every single year he would see his doctor that had the surgery, and he would check in, walk in, and the doctor just looked at him and he says, holy shit, how are you alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, see you next year, fucker. And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was his, it was just this mentality that he lived. And no matter what card was dealt that day or that month, the guy he had it.
Yeah.
He had the nuts,
Yeah.
You both are...
Great set of nuts, too, by the way.
Big balls, dude.
Big balls. Yeah.
You both are fathers now.
Yeah.
How much does it mean to you that your dad was around to meet all of his grandchildren?
Huge.
I think it was great in the sense that he got to see it, and this might sound fucked up, but having him go now at this stage, now our children will get to know our dad through our good, positive, inspiring stories of him, rather than seeing a man very diminished from what he truly is. Because when you're a kid, it's hard to see through that filter.
Yep.
And so part of me is happy that we get to share all the great things about Dad with them now. And it does sound fucked up, but you always want someone there. But at the end of the day, he was a lot bigger and better of a person than what was being presented through taxation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword, and it's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm just trying to, like Dad probably would, try to find the positive
100%.
angle in all of this.
Yeah, that's the...
And celebrate him and share his memories with everyone.
Yeah. And you guys mentioned chapter 1, his nickname Big Rich had a lot to do obviously with his outward
sheer
appearance.
size.
Yeah. He's a big guy, and
Yeah.
I've met him twice, and he you can't miss him.
Yeah.
But he was a standout athlete, high school tight end who went on to have an undefeated season at OCC before going to Utah. The Utes, yeah.
He loved it.
Yeah.
And, you guys obviously got a lot of your athleticism. You guys are athletes in your own right. You're a great golfer and, can pick up anything and get it down. And, Shaun, we know that you're an accomplished basketball player and a great golfer as well. How cool is it to be able to play some golf with your dad?
Oh, huge. Huge.
I mean, this whole thing that we're doing together, and Shaun's been an integral part of the nation's story. I mean, we started the tournament, which is basically the child of the brand.
Yeah.
Because he was turning 21 and I was looking to celebrate my bachelor party for plaintiff number 1. And nice girl. But so anyways, we're kicking it back and forth going, I miss, everyone called TK, my dad's stepdad, who's the Smoking Tom, who raised my dad and treated us like grandkids. Everyone called him Dad. And so Shaun and I would be like, I miss Dad's tournament, and I don't know how it happened, but we're just like, let's just fucking start our own one, and we'll do it. Like, we'll go out, we'll celebrate your 21st. And so it really set the precedent for the early years of the tournament of the style of just like guys weekend full debauchery. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it was
we had that
shit
first
show.
year. I mean, we could have 3 fucking episodes on this.
Yeah,
like
I think I'm still hungover.
we rented a house in downtown Palm Springs on Canyon Country Club, and Shaun it was his 21st birthday. I mean, say no more. We fucking sent it so hard.
Yeah.
And I remember the owner of the house was like threatening to like come, and I'm just like weaseling him on the phone. It was wild. There was a lot of wild moments from that, but that's how that started. But my granddad's tournament is obviously my dad grew up playing in the Lycan Scramble, and so you fast forward to the end of that, and year 30, the last one, my grandpa throws this 3-day banger, just all out, like, we're gonna celebrate. This is the last one. Let's fucking do it. And he would do a derby the night before the scramble, and every year I would play with my uncle, and the derby was like a 70-person thing, so there was a cut every hole. Shit, we never made it to the fucking second hole,
Yeah.
And I played in the 7 of them. And so the last one, I just said, Dad, to Rich, I said, we gotta team up. We're playing in the last one together. And Shaun teamed up with TK, my grandpa.
Wow.
I don't know how we got to the end.
We did.
We get to the fucking 8th hole, the hole before the last hole, and we're in a chip off with him, Grandpa, 2 old guys, me and Dad. And my grandpa would do the chip offs old school, where everyone has to turn their back and be quiet.
It was blind.
And you chip. It's a blind chip off. So you chip, and there's 70 fucking people watching. You chip up, then they measure it, right down. The next guy goes. And I remember I hit this chip, and I come around and I look at my dad because our backs are turned, and he looks over at me like this, and he's just like giving me the eyes, like, "Did you hit it good?" And I was just like that,
He hit it.
I stuffed it. I stoned it.
It cheated.
And so, so we get to the last fucking hole, and it's us against these 2 older guys. And back then, that was when Dad was like still doing pretty good. Like, he was always a little slower on his right side, but he was a big guy, so he had this smooth tempo, like he back then he had this just like baby draw 225 yards
Just Ernie
automatic
Els, dude.
fucking It was like a retarded Ernie Els, dude.
Yeah,
just
100%.
like perfect fucking shot, So he puts me right at the fucking tip of the dog leg. I got 175 in. All these guys are watching. We can't even believe we're fucking still in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was young then, and buck wild and in shape, and so I hit my irons long. So I grab a 7-iron, buck 75, and I juice it over the wick to the back edge of the fucking green. And this is at Avondale, old Del Safari Country Club in Palm Desert. And the greens are just like this, So we're on the back of the green. The old guys are kind of fucking playing hockey. They get up and down for bogey. Right, so par's gonna win. So Dad's got a birdie putt, the edge of the back of the green.
He sucked at putting, dude.
He had such great touch everywhere else, but he'd just get the putter in his hands and he'd just fucking blow it. So this guy hits this putt, and right when he hits it, I was just like, goodbye. Like, this thing's just fucking, it's got wheels, dude. And I could feel how nervous they were, because it's like, Jesus Christ, you guys, you have a chance to win the last fucking thing here,
Yeah.
So he blows it by. So now I'm sitting there, I've got like a 15-footer up the hill, everyone watching. This is for the win. And TK, Grandpa Tommy, he was known for being the best putter anyone's ever seen.
Ever.
The guy just, everything looked like it was going in. And I stepped up that thing and I rolled the fucking ball in. And Dad gave me the biggest bear hug I've ever gotten from him,
100%,
probably. And he was choked up because one thing about Dad is he kept his emotions in check, but when he'd get pushed to the edge, he'd lose his marbles.
Yeah.
You know, and he lost his marbles, and the look on Grandpa Tommy's face was just like,
We all won.
We all won. We all won.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
except that those two old guys were pretty pissed off.
I love to this day. I like when I see that the picture in the collage and everything.
Yeah.
I always look for that one, and the first thing I looked at is for the second place. And it's for some reason it just makes my day. Those old cheaters, dude.
Yeah,
Sandbaggers.
they were so chapped. They said something at the end, and this is like the son and the grandson just won the 30th Derby, and the like leader of this entire fucking movement is just through the roof for it. And they were like, "Are you sure his handicap fit this flight?" or something like that. And it's just like, you guys, you know, where the fuck are you? You know,
And I was like, "What's a handicap?"
Shaun that year, he was playing basketball. He had a big shaved head. He had like this red fucking flannel that he tucked in and he buttoned it all the way to the top. It was like, dude, you look like American History X out here, dude.
I was trying to intimidate the field.
You know, you intimidated a lot of people, let me tell you. But man, that
wasn't stoked.
to win it with my dad on the 30th, and then fast forward the memories we have for those early years of our tournament, and my dad, because my whole thing, the first 5 or 6 years of the tournament was, you know, most of the guys were young, and, you know, I had this vision for this thing, and to get guys to sign up and come out for the weekend, it was like babysitting. So I'd rent the biggest, cheapest house I could anywhere in the valley. Not in Indian Wells, I would get it anywhere. And I would just be like, you sign up for the tournament, you can crash at my place. You know, and so we threw some fucking parties out there, and Dad was there for all of them. You know, he was the dude. We'd set him up in the shallow end of the pool. We'd throw a fucking beach chair in the water and a fucking umbrella and whatever, and we'd just sit him in there, and he'd just sit there all day with beer, and we'd just make sure he was good. And the guys got to really just connect with him in a way where he was just this big teddy bear, you know, and I'm so thankful for that, you know.
That's great.
But the golf, you know, Dad, he gave that to us, and I think it was by the grace of his accident, because that was the one thing he could do. And so it steered us in that direction, and it was just meant to be, man. You know, I mean, he probably would have. I mean, I don't know if we would have got that into golf if it wasn't for that.
No,
you know what I mean. It's hard to say.
Yeah, he fully bought in on it, and he just said, "This is a great opportunity." You know, obviously he probably didn't think it would turn out to be something like this. But it was good, you know, to be raised in that environment. And to have those morals.
Speaking of this nation, and the fact that your grandfather is the logo of the company and the impetus for everything that's happening here, and obviously your dad played a huge role in it. Do you know his thoughts or his pride on his son carrying on the legacy like this? What were his thoughts on Nation Golf?
He would, like, you know, to touch again on how, you know, he would harbor his emotions, but when they'd come out, they'd really pour, you know, like, he would just, even every year looking at the programs going like, you know, reading what I'd say about Grandpa, or just like seeing the logo, and it touched him. You know, and it, I think, you know, every like major influence or attachment, it more often than not, it skips a generation. And I think what all this did to him later in his life was make him realize how special his childhood was, having TK, being the kind of guy he was, and showing him that life, and the tournaments and the parties and stuff. And it made him realize how appreciative he was for that, you know. So it was all, this whole thing has been such an amazing ride, you know. And I remember the first however many years of our tournament we played, it was me, you, Dad, and Mark Cobb was our foursome. And Grandpa Tommy would come and follow us and watch us play the first 5 holes together, and he'd honk his golf cart horn every time we'd birdie. And so I mean, the aura that we had, and
special.
I strived every year to make the tournament better and this and that. This is beyond my dreams. You know what I mean? Like this has all happened for the right reasons and naturally, and but I'm part of that appreciation too. Like, you know, every day knowing that we get to wear this flag and carry on those traditions, and it's part of our family's legacy. It's just like, it's just a treat that I can't even really explain.
Yeah.
But my dad was a huge part of it, you know, and I know he's up there, TK, ripping right now. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely ripping.
Your mom and dad met in 4th grade, high school sweethearts, married at 21, had you at 23.
Old school.
Old school, and were together until the very end, and that's an amazing marriage. And you know, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how's Kathy? How's your mom doing?
My mom's the toughest
Yeah, she's tough,
cookie
man. She is tough.
you could ever meet. She's gonna be all right. You know, I think she's gonna miss him like crazy. There's gonna be some shock for a while because she's been hustling for so long, and out of absolute necessity, and that's just how she's wired too. You know, at the same time, no disrespect, but an enormous weight has been lifted off of her shoulders.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way I look at it is both her and dad are free now, you
Yep.
know, and I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, you know.
It's time for her to, in her first time of her life, to be selfish and to think of herself first.
Yeah.
And the next couple of years are going to be very important for her. And the number one thing we have is family. And you know, she was a good mom, and she's going to be even a better grandma.
Yeah.
So it's going to be huge.
That's
Yeah.
great. And on the subject of Big Rich and your mom, your dad got married to your mom while wearing pink sunglasses.
Yes.
Why was your dad wearing pink sunglasses at his wedding?
Well, back in the day, let me rearrange my junk so I don't have a, you know,
A blowout?
a little broccoli floret sticking out like Craig Dunlap's episode. Back in the day, you know, nowadays everything's a thing. You know, it's all a racket. You know, weddings, bachelor parties, bachelorettes, kids' first birthdays, fucking showers, this and that. Everything's an industry now. You know?
There are engagement parties and gender reveals.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
something for everything.
yeah. I don't believe in genders, Adam.
It'd be nice to do one non-controversial episode, just one. You know, I thought that episode, the tribute to your dad, would be as above board as possible.
Anyways, was my collar fucked up this whole time? Where were you guys on that?
I didn't want it.
You got it.
Yeah, is that good now?
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you went out on your bachelor party the night before the wedding.
Yeah.
That's what guys did.
Right.
And my dad did that, and that was a big mistake. My dad had 2 black eyes, and he wore pink sunglasses to his wedding. And I'm sure my mom and my grandma were very fucking mad at him, but he was used to that role.
Yeah.
He was used to everyone being a little upset with him.
Yeah.
He was.
That's a
he
role
was
that
good
you
at
have
it.
picked up really well.
Yeah,
Yes.
he wore it well, and I've learned from the best.
Yeah. So he was wearing glasses to cover up 2 shiners. Do you know how he got the shiners?
Yeah, his best man. They got in a bar fight, and I don't know how it happened. I've heard multiple stories. None of them line up.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if anyone remembers exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The fact is that Dad was the biggest dude of his whole group. So if he had 2 black guys, I don't know how the other guy fucking looked or felt. But he for sure, you know, got into a brawl and woke up in the morning, put his tux on, and got after it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
A little makeup,
yeah, ain't no stopping.
big shades, we're good to go.
You
Yeah.
know, you don't stop a guy like that. You know, you
Yeah.
can only slow him down. So
What a man.
yeah,
That's
it
great.
was one of many stories of my dad in his wild years. I mean, I've heard we've hung out with some of his friends, and they bring up stories, and my dad doesn't even remember them. Like,
No.
what? And you're listening to the story going, this is like, should be a fucking book.
Yeah.
Like this story, and you don't remember this?
Yeah.
How many of these fucking nights happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? The dude was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
A little fried.
Yeah.
pride.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So his most known nickname is Big Rich, but he was also called
Babyface.
and,
Most guys call him BF, Babyface.
And Ukiah?
Ukiah, so he
Gosh.
the Doobie Brothers album came out.
Uh-huh.
There's a song called Ukiah, and my dad had this idea that he was going to be a mountain man,
Yeah.
you know, and that song, you know, really
It spoke to him.
spoke to him.
Yeah.
You know, he was also a Led Zeppelin guy. He'd tell me the story about how he hitchhiked to San Francisco or something to see a Led Zeppelin concert or something like that. And I'm just like, what?
Non-stop, didn't sleep.
You know, just
He was on it.
yeah. He's like, yeah, man, we were taking uppers. I was like, what the fuck's an upper?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and so he went with my mom somewhere and got this fucking tattoo on his arm that says Ukiah in like kind of like sailor script, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found this out yesterday.
Yeah.
We found his my mom's senior yearbook, and I read what my dad wrote in it, and he signed his name Ukiah.
God, you got to read this, man.
That's amazing.
You got to read it.
Yeah.
You know, I've said this in the past, and it's directly relates to what you just said about you find these breadcrumbs in your parents' yearbook, and that's where you would have to go, kids our age, to find that out.
Right.
Now we're leaving our entire life every single day on the internet for our kids, and we're never going to be able to deny anything
No,
or tell them not to
it's
do
over.
anything.
Yeah.
But how much more special is it, instead of Googling your parents, to open up a yearbook and see that your dad signed his name?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why
Ukiah.
relationships lasted longer then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it was part of the process.
Harder to
then.
cancel
Well,
if you can deny.
yeah. But that's really cool. I love hearing that you went through the yearbook and found that, and it just speaks to also the longevity of their relationship. You
Yeah.
also said that people were now telling you guys stories that you hadn't heard before. You're not a terribly emotional person. You're very good at, you just you put your head down and you do your work, and you're a very loving guy. You're very giving, very generous to all your friends, but. I was really kind of just floored when I read what you had written about your dad on Instagram. It was so touching. It was I'd never seen that side of you, and I was really happy to see it. What that prompted was a lot of responses from people. And you were showered with love and support, and I'm sure that felt good, but I'm also sure that these people were now reaching out and telling you things that you hadn't heard before, and it kind of like unlocked a part of your dad that might not have been unlocked unless you got vulnerable like that. Was it pretty amazing to hear from everybody?
Definitely. It's also pretty grueling, because that's when the emotions come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like, the past couple nights have been tough. Like during the day, I can get through anything, but when you're at home in your comfort zone and you read messages from people you respect and love, and you hear their side of things, and it's frankly hard not to lose it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Larson sent me an unbelievable message last night, and I lost it.
Yeah.
And it's like I think back, and I'm just so lucky that there's a few of my key friends that really got. Because Dad wasn't an outgoing dude.
No.
But in the settings and the situations that we have created in both of our social and professional and leisure lives between the two of us, it's created these opportunities for our friends to connect with my dad. And man, I'm just like, it's hard to hear, and you get upset, and sad or whatever, but it's also, fuel to your being okay with he did it. He got out there. Everyone got to know him, and like, I don't know. I can't really put words to it. It's just a powerful thing.
Yeah. Once he, in both sides of our friends and everything, once he got into that comfort zone, he touched a lot of souls.
Yeah.
And he was, you go to a restaurant, the guy can't even order. He if it's a stranger, he can barely communicate.
Yeah.
But when he's with the boys or with people he loves, stories all day.
That's great.
So he opens up, because I think there's a sense of him being, hobbling in and having a big scar on his head and kind of being slow and just a big brute, that he's a little bit embarrassed.
Yeah, he
there's
got
that
cut.
tail between his legs.
Yeah, he got cut down for a long time, and that I can't imagine how that felt. That must have been so hard to wear, and being such a big guy, it took its toll.
Yeah.
And but man, am I thankful that that some of my really close friends got to know him
Yeah.
in that light.
Yeah, the real him.
Yeah, and as Shaun said at the beginning, the legends never die, and this
Yeah.
is how they live on, is by telling these stories. And even just doing this, sitting down with you guys, this is something that you can show your friends, you can show your kids, and your kids can show their kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these are some stories.
As long
that-
as you like and subscribe and smash that thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That one was for you, Dad.
Yeah, that was great. What characteristics, and I'll ask this to both of you, do you attribute in your own lives the most to your dad? What did you get most from your dad?
Go ahead.
The head of
This
hair.
guy.
My
This
hair,
guy.
bro.
This guy.
Brian's always been jealous of my hair.
Oh my god.
Since I was a little kid, I had dad's hair.
I don't know, dude. Mine's pretty
No, you
thick,
had that,
bro.
dude. We can pull. We can
we
pull
won't be
some
showing
stuff.
those.
I mean, he had, you name it, man.
Yeah.
But he's his head of hair, and I would say my hands, man.
This guy is a near clone of my dad. I think if there was ever anyone who got close to being like him,
Yeah,
you were definitely it.
just 4 inches smaller and 80 pounds less. Other than that, it's pretty close.
I think I would like to think that I was a pretty good blend of it, but after all of this has happened this week, and you read the stories and you go back and remember your stories, and you look back at what made Dad Dad, and the things he did, and the type of person he was, and the effect he had on his circle of friends and family and stuff, and how he would kid and joke and stuff. You're like, holy shit, I am just like that fucking guy.
Yeah,
And how proud does that make you?
Incredibly proud.
yeah, 100%.
And if we were in a setting where we couldn't vocally make fun of each other, we would do the circle game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting married and I look and I make eye contact in the crowd and I'm like, that's just the relationship we had. It was just, he set us up to be the guys we are, and we might rub people the wrong ways, but some people, but we don't mean it that way. We were just taught to enjoy life and make light of it, man.
Yeah.
And have a fucking good time, dude.
Yep.
But yeah, those stories I was telling you when I would work with him in the summers when he was cleaning carpets, and how that gave me a passion to cook, because I'd be raiding strangers' cupboards and making food for us at lunch when no one was home, and like, he taught me things that I don't even think he knew what the outcome was for that, but it did things for us, and I'm sure you have a number of those things too, and so yeah, very proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very proud, and we're very much like him, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's tough for the world. Huh?
Well, you guys have a big legacy to carry on, and
Yeah.
and you guys sound like you are extremely proud to be the two kids carrying it on.
100%.
And,
Someone sent me a message today, and he said in it, I'm paraphrasing, but he just said quite simply, every boy needs a dad to show him how to be a man. And sure lucky we had one.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to end this. That was so well said. That's great.
So-
This is to Big Rich.
Yeah.
This is to your dad.
Yeah.
Cheers to
Thanks,
him.
guys.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Nick.
Yep.
Cheers, you guys.